Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Rana Sabagh, and we're here live with the Islamic Center of Passaic County and the Islamic Education Foundation. We're presenting to you today a session on your children's emotional well-being by Sister Hayat Jaludi, who is the principal. And I just want to apologize for the technical difficulty we were having. So we're on live right now. And I'd like to share with you, Sister Hayat, a little note from Brother Intishan Chowdhury, who said, we're looking forward to seeing our honorable sister, Principal Sister Jaludi of Al-Hikmah Elementary School for Prospect Park. Besides education realm, she is a great community servant, always active for us. So I welcome you, Sister Hayat.
Assalamu alaikum. Salam and everybody.
Okay, and just a little background on Sister Hayat. I'll speak a little bit about her certifications. She's certified with the New Jersey State Teachers Certificate Elementary Education from K to 8, the New Jersey State Teachers Certificate Business Education, a Rutgers University, New Brunswick School of Business, mini MBA, a Harvard certificate exercising leadership, mashallah, foundational principles, and the Harvard Graduate School of Education and the Harvard School of Business. She received a certificate in school management and leadership. She was a guidance counselor and a VP principal for Al-Ghazali Junior Senior High School from 1998 to June of 2010. She is also the current principal of Al-Hikmah Elementary School. We welcome you, Sister Hayat.
Thank you so much, Sister Rana. Jazakallahu khairan for allowing me to be on your platform today. I want to thank Sheikh Qatanani, the ICPC, for giving us this opportunity to speak to our community members, and to you, Jazakallahu khair, Sister Rana. Before I begin, as Sister Rana had mentioned, I'm going to be talking about a topic that has affected us all as a community, as families, and that is exactly what our children are watching due to this whole coronavirus epidemic that pushed us into the virtual world. But before I begin, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to share with you is going to try to cover the things that we are facing as parents, what our children are facing, and things that we could do to try to help guide them along the right direction. So, Sister Rana, I'm going to begin my presentation.
Okay.
Okay, so as I said, the title of this presentation is What's My Child Watching? Throughout this presentation, I'll be talking about ways that you can protect your children online, no matter how they access the internet. Since the COVID pandemic struck, as I mentioned before, we were forced to make this transition in our lives from person to person to that of virtual. The widespread school closures, the in-house quarantine, the increase of online learning and digital screen time has completely and truly affected our children as well as the adults. There has been statistics shown that there's a 25% increase of students being online during this time. These days, kids have access to hundreds of games, to media apps, to millions of internet sites, and they can buy or download countless video games and apps. There's a lot of media out there, and some of it may not be appropriate for our children, depending on their maturity level or age. So the best way to monitor media that your children are using is to experience the media yourselves, right? So view the apps, play the apps with your children, speak to them, watch what they watch so that you could talk about what it is that they are seeing on these screens. You know what you want for your children. We know what we want for our children. So you should be the one who decides if the game or the app is appropriate. We know now that there are so many games out there that we truly should avoid our children from even playing them. Where close monitoring and more control are needed, parents have numbers of ways to keep track of the media their kids are watching and they're playing and they're using. So these tools may not shield your children from all inappropriate material, but they can help, right? So here we're saying, since they're using it, what do you want to get them out of digital media? What do you want for them to actually get of this? So it's learning, it's fun, connection. So it's important that we all try to navigate this new world of device and tech, and it's not always easy. You should always start talking about online manners, or netiquette, as they call it now. With your youngest children, they have good foundation for later lessons about issues like cyberbullying, inappropriate games, apps, or websites. You could start talking to your teens about the more inappropriate sites that they may be open to. So dealing with the internet and its usage is a difficult topic for Muslim parents. On one hand, the internet is full of amazing learning websites and documentaries. On the other hand, it's a dark side that we are all aware of and afraid of. So what are your kids currently interested online? How many of your children like to use social media apps, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, texting or playing games, using Google to help them with their homework? All of these things are part of our children's lives, whether we like it or we don't. But our duty as educators and as parents and as siblings is to really guide our children and be fully aware of what it is that they're on. Because of this COVID pandemic and because of what they are forced to be online, we are forgetting there's a blurred line between, are they really online because they're doing their assignments, or are they online playing games or chatting with people? So the only way we can answer these questions is by communicating with your children. You really need to start the conversation with them, right? You shouldn't be afraid to ask them questions. What are these games? Because we're not always very aware of what it is that's out there. Speak to them about what is their favorite app. What are you trying to play? So when you start these discussions with them, your children need to know that you are aware that they are using the internet, they are on these media apps, and that you are there to guide them with what is allowable and what shouldn't be allowable. So when you're discussing with them, the kids need to know that you have control and that you're able to deal with these situations and stop them from going online if something happens. So we may not be able always to protect them as much as we'd like, but at least the discussion is started and we can prohibit them or inhibit some of these sites that they probably will see, unfortunately. I know that there are certain words that are taboo and we try not to discuss them, but the reality of the matter is that we are living in an age where our children may be open to things that we don't want them to be open to, right? So if they're on media and they're watching, they're online, and they may be at a chance of seeing something that's inappropriate or things that are explicit. For example, unfortunately, pornography or excessive violence or hate speech or risky or illegal behaviors where they try to solicit them. Seeing inappropriate content online may have a negative effect on your children. It will absolutely have a negative effect. So some kids, especially younger children, may feel guilty or ashamed when they're exposed to these violent or sexual content. It is our job as parents and as educators and as guiders to let them know that it isn't their fault and that we have to teach them how to avoid these things. We have to let them know that they can talk to us. We are there as their parents, and we're there to guide them along these very rough times for these children. The internet is a big, wide world, and if they fall trapped into it and we're unaware of it, or we don't know how to help them out of it, they will fall deeper in. So let your kids know that they could always talk to you. The internet is a great tool for them. Don't make it scary. If your child opens up to you about inappropriate content they've seen, listen attentively. Stay calm, reassure them that it's not their fault, and help them report anything. So obviously the goal—
On that note, would you recommend speaking with your child at an early age about this before they happen to see it through their peers or through their whatever social media they have?
Absolutely. They're never too young. I was going to give you an example later on in my presentation. So when we begin to train our children, let's take this example, using a safety belt in the car, right? we begin at the young age. We show them that we have to put on the seatbelt, where we can't drive without you having the seatbelt on. And then as they progress and they grow older, they learn to put that seatbelt on their own. They learn that even when they're not with you and there's somebody else's car, they learn that they have to put that seatbelt. Same thing with the internet. You have to start speaking to them and letting them know that there are certain sites, there are certain people out there that are trying to elicit information from you. There's sites that we shouldn't be going on, and they should be very confident to approach you and let you know that they've seen something wrong. A biggest part of this is having a close relationship with your children and really guiding them through every step that they take. I know that during COVID, we were living in a very shut down world, right? So everybody was home, everybody's inside. And then through boredom, these children were learning about these new games, and they would tell their parents, I'm playing a game. But did we really know what that game is about? Did we ever ask what the title of the game is? I don't want parents to fall into the trap where it's here, take the iPad, keep yourself busy, because we don't have time right now. A lot of these innocent children were going on games that were eliciting information. They were taking actual images of them through the camera. And there are monitoring apps that you could put on. And there's also wonderful online platforms that you could use as a parent. Going on to my next slide, if you're worried about doing it right, you're probably not doing it wrong, right? So whenever you're worried about something, I'm concerned about my child's academics, I'm concerned about my child's fear, that means that you are aware that there is something wrong, or that you are aware of what should be concerned to you, and then you're going on the right path. So we all do have legitimate fears and concerns. Remember that the skills your child needs to practice safe behaviors online are skills that are built over time. So like I said, it's almost teaching them how to use a seatbelt correctly, right? So when our children are in cars without us around, they know how to wear that seatbelt. We want to get them to the point that when we aren't around, they should know the safety guidelines or the netiquette, or how to use the internet properly, or how to use these games properly. And anything that falls out of our bounds of our morality or our beliefs in Islam, they should know that I should not do this. They should know that they should be able to walk up to the parent, their teacher, and say, you know what, yesterday I saw something that I shouldn't have, or this game does something that we really shouldn't be playing. There is no research that says what is the proper amount of time a child should be on wasting on internet or using the internet. But we say that as when you look at their age level or the group level, your child should not be online more than 2 hours from grades 5th through 6th. And that 2 hours should include academic, and perhaps they're obviously going to want to go on websites that offer them some entertainment. So we must have our children, students follow house rules. Always put your house rules down. Make sure that there's clear rules in the house. There's a time where iPads should be put down, especially when your family's having dinner. Nobody should have any electronics in their hand. There should be a certain time where iPads are turned off. You could actually put a timer on their iPads or iPads or phones, whatever it is, gadget that they're using, and that'll control and it'll shut down their iPad, or you can turn off your Wi-Fi at home. So use and watch with your child whenever you can. Once your child sees that you're actively involved in their everyday activities, including being online, including homework, they know that your guidance is there and that you are supervising every step of their way. They feel that your presence is a part of their lives. They will know better when to make a decision, and they'll know that it's easier to approach you. So make sure as parents you are on the same page. Know your rules. For instance, if you take the iPad from them, they shouldn't ask, please, can I have it? They know at this certain time the iPad is taken away from them. As a family, share the same rules. So if your spouse says that iPad or gadget should be taken away by 7 p.m., you should agree with that. And you should follow that rule so that it's consistent with all of your children. So have clear expectations. You could play Minecraft until you hear the timer go off. Set alarms for them. When you hear the sound, turn off your iPad. Practice with them. With older kids, negotiate stopping points. And as parents, you are allowed to say that I don't want you playing on this game because of. Always explain. Give them an explanation. You can't just say you can't play this game, you can't enter this website. Give them a reason why. Because this website provides information that is not morally or ethically correct, or it's something that you shouldn't be seeing or you shouldn't be watching. It's never too early to talk about digital citizenship with your children. As Muslims, we have a moral, our moral Islam to uphold. You are a Muslim. There are certain things that we shouldn't be watching. There's certain things we shouldn't be doing. There are certain sites that we shouldn't be going on, because our deen tells us this is wrong, right? And if you involve our Islamic teachings in all of these issues that we're facing in our community now, it'd be so much easier. Because I feel that even when we speak to our students today, we spoke to our 5th and 6th grade students about their behavior and how during this time they've been affected socially, emotionally. The world has been really turned upside down for them. They're children, they don't clearly understand what it is that's happening. And when we started speaking to them about the normal behaviors, and then we interjected deen and we said, as Muslims, you identify with your religion, and it's your character that you uphold through your religion. So it all comes back to Islam. Our Islamic character development program that we have running at Al-Hikmah school molds our students in great leaders. So if they have this great foundation of a fully developed character that has these skills of being ready to speak and present and have a true and honest behavior about it, all of this comes in line. It becomes easier to discuss with your children. It becomes easier for them to understand why you don't want them to go on these websites or why you don't want them to play these games. Because there has been many statistics that shows that these games do have an effect on them, or that these websites do have an effect on them, because they start to discuss it together and they're giving each other misinformation. And this is where the schools and the community and the families all interject and they get involved. And if they hear the same thing from the school and from the teachers and from the administration, they should hear from home. We have to set ground rules. And I know that children have an aversion to rules, but you're going to make those rules applicable to their lives, and you're going to make those rules understandable to them, because children don't like to hear, you can't do this. You could tell them, this is something we're going to try to avoid because it's going to hurt you. So we have to find quality content for our children. And in our schools right now, we're trying to interject coding, and through coding, we found a great program. It's called Codable, and the children are having fun with it because it's learning coding through creating games. As I said, we have to set ground rules. Research before you buy. Please don't just buy gadgets without knowing exactly how they work. Don't just buy a game because your child says it's a great game, everybody's playing it. Do your research. There's a wonderful site that you can use. It's commonsensemedia.org. Sister Rana, I will give you those sites so you could post it for the parents. They're really wonderful. You go on the site and you type in a novel that your children may read, a game that they may be playing, a movie that you may want them to watch, and it gives you very detailed information, and they rate it for you, whether or not it's safe for your children. Give your children the time and attention they need. It is a time where adults have been affected by the current situation. Our children need us now more than ever. I think that if we just really give them the foundation of a true Islamic foundation for them, and reminding them of their deen and how beautiful their deen is, and that through our religion, prayer and ad'iyah, making dua and asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us through these tough times, discussion as a family, letting them know that their laptop or their iPad is not their way to get away from everything. Rather they should use it for school, obviously, because now we're forced to, and also to find resources on there that'll enrich them, enrich their minds, and enrich their spirits. So we want to engage with our children. We want to talk about it. We want to talk about the issues that they may be facing. Regular conversation, get involved, challenge them. Say if you read 4 chapters of your book, or you memorize this many ayahs, I'll let you play this game, a game that you know about, that you're well read on, and you understand it. You can't take things away. We've learned that you just can't take things and plug it, unless, of course, there's a situation at home that you felt that if I remove this from them, it'll solve the situation. Usually that doesn't. Speak to them, talk to them about mistakes that they may have made, talk to them about what they may have seen online. It's all about communication. So we want to learn. We want to know the platforms. We want to know what is out there. We want to be aware of the sites, the games, the apps that your children are using. I need you to be proactive. Teach your kids to spot common tricks used by online offenders. I know that a lot of parents do role playing. Let me know what would happen if somebody discussed or tried talking to you through this. Make sure you know if their games they're playing are open to the public. Most games now, you have the ability to change the setting and not have it public, and it'll only be a private game between your child and, let's say, their relative. There are people out there that are trying to pretend to be younger. They're going to offer incentives. They're going to say win a free game, and it really is just to elicit their information. Make sure to always spot the red flags. Let them know. You have to understand that if your child is asking you questions like, if I send my information or if I send my picture, who is seeing this, you have to know something might have happened. Those are red flags. If they're spending increased time online, if they get upset when you try to take away the iPad from them, it's not just being upset because they want to play with their cousins. You have to really find these things out. Look at the search engines, see what they've been searching, see what they've been playing. Do we have any questions? I'm going on and on. Does anybody have any questions?
So far, no questions.
Okay, so the platforms that we could use as parents and as educators, one of them is Commonsense.org. Common Sense is a leading nonprofit organization dedicated to helping all kids thrive in a world of media and technology, and it helps parents. I've used this site myself plenty of times. It is really a wonderful site. It helps you make decisions as far as even what book your child was going to read. And they have websites, they have webinars themselves. They have sessions that you could read. There's a lot of literature on this site that'll help you as a parent. Another one is NetSmarts. It's a missing kids organization, but they also provide you with age-appropriate videos for your children to watch. It's great for parents. It's great for educators. The goal is helping children to become more aware of the potential online risks and empowering them to help prevent the victimization. So I think that we need to let our older children know that they are almost prone to being victims, and adults have been victims of this. Educate them. Let them know that the internet can be a dangerous place for them. Let them know that they have to be aware of what they're doing and who they're speaking to and what games they're playing. Kids Health website for parents on how to guide their children. So we have monitoring apps, Norton Family, Net Nanny, Parental Control, Kaspersky that we all know about. I could copy these and put this in the chat for Sister Rana to share with all of you. So the purpose of this whole webinar session is for us to understand that in this world that we're living in, we have to be very vigilant with our children. And we have to understand that it's become a little bit more difficult for them to communicate with us because they feel safer or they feel more comfortable speaking to people other than their parents. Unfortunately, this is something that we have to face. I'm a mother of 4 children. Raising my 2 older children was a bit easier because I was around my family. I come from a large family and I was guided, and it was almost ingrained in them that family is who you resort to. Our children are growing up and they feel that they have to meet the norms of what society wants. I have to meet the norm of what this person on the internet is saying about these YouTubers. And our children are watching YouTube more than they're watching themselves. They're consuming their time watching these people who live their lives frivolously and really against what we ask for in our deen. And I'm not saying this about every YouTuber out there, but I'm saying that, do you want your child to be raised in an environment where they're watching strangers living their lives, most probably the way we don't want our children to live? We have to let them know that Islam is so rich in every way that we can live as great, successful members in this society and be able to have fun. There's entertainment. We can have entertainment, the safe entertainment that we should allow our children to have. There are plenty of games out there that they can play. There's plenty of internet websites that they can join in on. But it seems like they're all driving towards this YouTube. You know, when we ask our children now, what do you want to be? I know when I was growing up many moons ago, the first question was asked, what do you want to be? Everybody raised their hand and said they want to be a doctor. We want to be a lawyer. Now, most children, when you ask them, what do you want to be? I want to be a gamer. I want to be a YouTube star. You know, and perhaps, you know, this is something that may be good, but you have to let them know that these YouTubers aren't living the life that we want you to live as our children. Be very aware of the society that we're living in today. Be very, very aware and let them know that they can be potentially harmed by these websites, by these games, and by these apps. Let them know that you are completely involved in their lives. You know, you're aware of what it is that they're joining in on, and then just really focus on the development of these children and talk about the Prophet ﷺ and talk about how he was the founder of character development. And this isn't anything new. This isn't something Al-Hikmah contrived. You know, we're just taking it and we're really trying to interject it into all of our studies and become an interdisciplinary. We're taking it through science, through social studies. And these kids as young as pre-K are learning about being humble and being honest and sharing and, you know, telling them that even talking to your teacher when you're feeling confused. Today, that was one of the topics that we talked about with the 5th and 6th graders. If there is a situation where you feel that you've been affected by, find somebody that you could talk to in your community, in your masjid, in your school, because children have been really affected throughout this COVID, and we see it in our students.
That's such a great point, Sister Khaldia, Sister Hayat, I'm sorry, that you made in regards to how we see the contrast on social media and YouTube, and how children are almost led and drawn into this fantasy world, whereas we want to instill the values and the morals, and they're almost drawn away from that. And it's really hard to kind of maintain that balance and to let them know that this is the reality. And those people on YouTube or social media, they're not drawing the complete picture of reality. So they're taken away from it. So that's such a great point that you make.
That's right. And you know what? When I speak to my daughter or some of the students and I let them know what you see isn't everything that's going on. They're showing you what they want you to see.
Exactly.
You know? And today when we speak to our students at Al-Hikmah, we speak to them, I mean, they're young, they're elementary and, you know, 6th grade, but we want to instill in them character skills that can make them strong enough and confident enough as a Muslim that these things will be frivolous to them. Because when we have our National Honor Society, or we have our safety patrol, or we have all these wonderful events where our students group together and they're making food for the homeless, that fulfilled them. Before COVID, our students were completely fulfilled because they were able to identify as a Muslim who was going to a shelter and feeding those that are needy, you know, or getting gifts for students, for patients in the cancer center. That part of their deen where charity and kindness, that fulfilled them. And you could see the excitement on their faces, and you could see that they felt that they achieved something. So all of these events or these extracurricular activities that we can ICPC and Al-Hikmah and Al-Ghazali that we can put together. This is where we want to guide our students. Back in the day when we were in Ghazali TNEC, when I was a principal and vice principal there and the guidance counselor, we started, we started programs with our students. We did building bridges with the other faiths. We started charity events. We did fundraisers. And this is where you saw their faces light up. This is what I want to see now. I don't want a student's face. It hurts me that after school, I see a student run to their parents' phone and they're facing down on it. My daughter being one, and she's playing, one of those create a world games. We don't want them to create these worlds where they're getting lost into. We want to create individuals who are going to be successful citizens that can give to society and be a real role model and represent Islam. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, our alumni have done so much and they represent us in so many different places because we were able to offer them all these foundational skills and always tie it to our deen. So now as parents and as community members and as educators, I'm imploring all of us to really put our hands together and make sure that our message is clear and the same to our students and our children. We're facing tough times. They have access to all of these things. And I'm not saying that we have 100% time to make sure that we're supervising it. There are times where we will slip, right? Life happens. But make sure they know that you're vigilant and aware, because there's nothing worse than when I hear, oh, my mom doesn't even know, or my father doesn't know. No, let them know that you know. And even if you have to research it on your own, there are times where I don't know what app my daughter is talking about or my son is talking about. I have to research it. Or if I say to my sibling, oh, I'm going to buy this game for my son, and they stop me and they say, no, this is something that you shouldn't. We have to understand the way Islam thrives and we have a rich history is because we were a community and we stood by together. And I'm asking every parent who has any questions or any wants to know more about this information, please feel free to contact us. We have a great staff at Al-Hikmah, the Islamic Studies and the Quran program. They'll discuss these topics with you. They'll give you the Islamic background, and they make these children really delighted whenever we do any type of project that is connected with deen. These little children, they're innocent and they enjoy it. And you'll hear them reciting the Quran. So find an app that teaches them Quran or Arabic in a fun way, or teaches them different concepts that are educational but fun at the same time.
Right. Sister Hayat, I have a question. So what kind of message would you like to give to the parents who do engage with their children and are involved with their lives, and ask them the necessary questions, but it's their approach that may push the child away?
Okay, so that's an excellent question, Sister Rana. There are many parents with the purest intentions, and they really are afraid of what the world can do to their child or what their children are open to. But sometimes we just don't know how to approach our children the right way, and we use the fear tactic. Fear tactic never works. And that's the way we should approach them, is letting them know, I am quite aware of what this app does, or I'm quite aware of what you may be learning outside of school or what you've heard. But we have to work together, and we have to understand that in the end, this will harm you. So let's work together. Let's discuss this, find out the best avenue that we could take to help guide them away from it, and have them trust that they could speak to you without the reaction that because children are always expecting, they say, don't tell my mom, she's going to be really mad at me, or don't tell my dad because he may do something. Throughout the many years that I've been in education, the students who said, I tell my mom everything, she understands, or I speak to my dad about this. The approach that you need to take is one of a nurturing approach. Nurture your children and let them know that there's a haniya, there is a connection with them, that you truly are concerned about their best interests and you want them to flourish to be the best person, and that these things will harm them. And you see, the thing is, a lot of times we had students in the past who say, oh, we're not allowed to do this and we're not allowed to do this. But there's so many other outlets that they are allowed to do, and that can entertain them the same way that these other outlets that they think are better. But we have to tell them that as adults, we understand what's best for them, and that they can be part of the conversation. They could tell us, they could educate us on these things, and we could discuss it. But you're right, the way that we approach it is the most important way to solve these situations, because they can get much worse if the child feels that I can't speak to anybody about this, or if they find out, it's going to be a lot worse. We've had cases, and I worked internationally. I worked in Jordan for a couple of years, and in private schools. And there were cases where students were in situations that were not of the best situation, and they would turn to a teacher, or they would turn to an administrator and say, I've got myself in this situation. I don't know what to do. And when we called the parents in and we let them know, the parents' reaction was exactly opposite of what the child thought. And that was because there was no communication, because the parent never said to them, please be open with me. Let me know if anything has happened. If you see anything that you shouldn't have seen, or if somebody has said something to you, if you've gotten any solicitations, let me know. We'll solve it together. I think that's the most important message that we need to let our parents know.
That's a great takeaway. So letting parents know that, letting their children know that they're there for them no matter what, and that they can come to them. And also the community, the masajid, the schools, the Islamic schools, the Al-Hikmah, to let children know that they can come to certain people to talk to them and openly discuss certain matters, and we can fill in those gaps together, hopefully.
Absolutely. And this is the importance of this, right? This session that we're having here, and the session that Sister Khaldia, Jazakallah khair, did, is to let you know the only way that we will flourish is if we band together. And the only way our children will grow up and develop to being great leaders and great representatives of Islam is if we raise them together. And a lot of times when your children see that at school I'm supported, at home I'm supported, at the masjid I'm supported, the message is clear and it's along the same lines, you will see that our children, our generations to come, inshallah, will be so well balanced, and they'll be so well versed, and they will really represent us in the best way. But anytime there's a loop, or there's a space or a disconnect between home or school or our local community, that's when our children get confused.
Right.
You know what? At school, I'm not allowed to do this and that, but when I get home, my parents are fine with it. Or when I go to the masjid, I can't do this. So I believe that our working together, our webinars, parents are more than welcome to come into our school and discuss whatever matter they'd love to discuss, and just to be on the same page. We are a wonderful community, and I think together we could be so strong, and we really can provide our children with the best once we really start working together.
Absolutely. And they say it takes a village to raise a child. So it does involve a lot of community efforts and partnerships and collaborations, and making sure that our children are well equipped.
Absolutely. And you know what, Sister Rana, during this today, we had a professional development program, and part of our discussion was the social and emotional impact that our children have been impacted with, and our adults, the social emotional impact that it took, that the toll that it took on our children has affected them academically.
Right.
And that's because of the fact that there was a disconnect between the etiquettes of being at home and learning from home, as it was when they were being taught in school, that connect, that in-person, person-to-person teaching, that relationship that they built with our teachers. The joy on our students' faces when they were allowed to come back into the building was one that I can't even begin to describe to you. I had so many little students telling me, Sister Hayat, we can't wait till we come back to school. And the reason for that is because we built a culture at Al-Hikmah where it's really familial. And so when the students came into that classroom, they felt safe, and they felt they were with this teacher that they grew a great bond with. And whenever they walked into the school, there was this air of family. This is what they felt. And now we're working together as educators. And like I said, in the meeting today, we were discussing how or what can we do to lessen the impact that these kids have unfortunately faced How do we get them out of the social, emotional impact that they have been facing? How do we help them improve academically? How do we help them improve emotionally? And these are all parts of what my child is watching, because during this time, while they weren't getting your education that they were used to, they became so used to being online all the time, they began to do their own searches. They began to find out about games, and they were on YouTube, and we kind of lost the control that we once had. And once, inshallah, we are back into school full time, and we are back to doing our events, and hopefully next year what we're looking is to interject in our curriculum is life skills. In addition to learning academics and math and science, is to really start teaching our children the importance of having or acquiring the important life skills that they will need to become productive and positive citizens, inshallah.
That's amazing, mashallah. So, Sister Hayat, I'm going to share your email here on this chat, so that anyone who wants to contact Sister Hayat, you could reach her directly via email. And I'm going to also post the website that you shared with me, iefschools.org.
Thank you.
For more information on that, for families, if you need any type of information, I'll post that. And also we have a question here. If you can post the web monitoring sources that you mentioned previously.
Yes, I'll do that right now. Also, Sister Rana, while I'm typing that, I want, we are actually opening registration for our community starting April 1st. If you would like any information, you can, go to our website. You could email me. I'll put up our school phone number as well for anybody that has any questions. We are pre-K, inshallah, pre-K 3 to 6th grade. And I'm going to put in those for you now.
Okay.
I'll put it the other one too. Mm-hmm. The next one I'm going to put is kind of long.
Okay.
But
no problem. These are, again, amazing resources for parents to monitor their children. And these websites just give you guidance on the different, you mentioned apps and videos and
yeah.
all that.
Yeah, the next one that I'm putting in is called missingkids.org /netsmarts. I mean, the organization is dedicated to the amount of children, unfortunately, may Allah protect all of our children, are missing. But at the same time, that website offers resources for children even to go on and play and read, and for parents to educate themselves about the dangers of the internet. Then I wanted to share with you the apps that you could use on your children's devices. This one's called Norton Family. And there's another one called Net Nanny. These were rated one of the top apps for monitoring your children's devices, Norton Family and Net Nanny. There's apps out there that you could actually kind of see everything that your child is doing. Those are a bit more costly. I don't have those, but Norton Family and Net Nanny were rated the top 2 for monitoring your child's devices.
Okay, these are amazing resources, Sister Hayat.
I personally, like I said, I use commonsense.org all the time. Norton Family, obviously, I have that installed on my devices. I think, Sister, it seems like we have a little bit more time, right? And I wanted to discuss something with the parents and the community in regards to what my child is watching, and this whole, we need to we have to remind our children the beauty of their deen and the pride that they should have in it, and the identity, because I feel that throughout my years of experience, I saw that we struggle with an identity crisis. And our children don't know where do we fall, as a Muslim, And now more than ever, there are a lot of Muslim bloggers or Muslim individuals that are identifying as Muslims but aren't really following what Islam asks us. So we have to be strong enough to let our children know that you could be a successful Muslim, identify with the Western culture, fit in the society, and do very well for yourself following your deen. We have so many examples of our alumni, mashallah, tabarakallah, that have graduated and were able to identify as a great Muslim and be successful academically, and now are in important positions and are, in the ICPC and in local masajid, and they're giving khutbas, and they're attorneys, and they're engineers, and they're opening their own businesses because they were able to have that great balance. They were able to identify as a Muslim and follow through with their dreams and be able to balance it in such a great way that they succeeded. And through this, I think it's because of the wonderful opportunities that they had while being students at Al-Ghazali, or the wonderful opportunities they had while they were at Al-Hikmah. Our students at the low grades in elementary school are able to say, they graduate 6th grade and they are able to say, I was part of a charity fund last year. Or recently, mashallah, our 5th graders were part of a fundraiser. We were able to build 2 wells in South Africa.
Mashallah.
And all of this goes and develops them as a character, charity, teaching them that charity is everything. And it really defines you as a person. So we're working really hard to let them know that you can be able to be a part of society and use these sources that are out there and be able to play these games, but knowing that there is going to be supervision, and knowing that along the lines, you have to know that there's rules and guidelines. And as parents and as educators, we're going to be the ones to kind of dictate what is good and what is bad for you. Because if they lose touch, or they think that we've lost touch or unaware, this is where they start to falter and they start going down the avenues that they shouldn't be.
Absolutely. And a good point that you made was to engage your child, and I think it's all about how you also model the behavior as well. I think that's an important aspect of teaching and instilling the values and morals to your child, is Absolutely. Allowing them to see you rather than just hear you.
Absolutely. And you know what somebody shared, and I think I was wanted to mention modeling. Absolutely. Somebody shared an image with me once, and I think it was everywhere. Everybody saw it, where there was a child and his mom, and they were on their phones, and there was a family next to them with books in their hands. And then she says to the other parent, how did you get your child to do that? And well, it's modeling. If my child sees me reading rather than having my phone or on my iPad in my hand, they'll start to, emulate what they're seeing. So absolutely modeling, and we had a literacy night in our school last year, I think before COVID, and Sheikh Qatanani was our guest, and he's the one that spoke to us about the importance of reading. Mm-hmm. And how much knowledge our children can get just by reading. And it could be obviously recreational reading, and it could be informative reading, but have your children read. It opens up a world for them, and, their vocabulary increases, their communication skill increases, and they're able to identify different concepts that life has to offer. So reading, let's start getting our children back to opening up a book rather than opening up their iPads.
Absolutely. Great point, Sister Hayat. And like I said, I have listed the resources in the comment section, the email, and you can reach Sister Hayat directly in her email or visit the website at theiefschool.org. We have a comment here. Jazakallah khairan, Sister Hayat. It was a helpful webinar session. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward both of you. Jazakallah khair, Sister Muzina.
Thank you. Jazakallah khair. Sister Rana, do we have any other questions, or do?
I think that's it for today. And I guess this, if you have anything to add, I'm not sure.
I just want to make it very clear to the community members, to our parents, to our educators that are watching, that the most important take away from tonight is to be very vigilant and aware, and really just open up lines of communication with your children. Let them know that you are aware of what is out there, that you know more than what they might know, because they think that, you know, I know more, Mom. I know what this game's about. Let them know that you do know more, and that you are there to support them. And there are rules. There's nothing wrong with, you know, unfortunately, society is trying to veer away from giving rules. Without rules, there's chaos. And if we can't set rules in our own household and help guide our children and raise them to be well-functioning citizens, then we've lost it, right? So communication, modeling, setting rules, keeping your lines of communication open with your schools and your children's teachers and your administration, making sure that you communicate with them, and getting them involved in programs in the masjid, in the school, whatever it is that they're offering. And always, if they have any questions, you know, find a resource out there that can be helpful to them. These websites are great, you know, but if you feel that their problem is a little bit more than that, what this website could handle or help, know that there are people out there that they can reach out to, and one of them being the school or the masjid. Our children are an amana, and I keep saying this to myself, and I say this to my teachers, and I say this to our parents. They are an amana, and we have to answer to them. And the way that we focus our attention on them and our desire for them to become successful is most important. And if we fulfill that amana, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless us. And every day we make dua, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless our children and protect them and guide them in their future endeavors, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan. This was a great session. I'm glad to have been able to share with you the very little knowledge that I have.
You're filled with knowledge, Sister Hayat, and we appreciate you coming on and sharing your expertise with us. It's been very informative, and I'm sure it was an amazing reminder for a lot of families and how they can structure the family dynamic and understand the dynamic of technology in today's world. So part of solving a problem is understanding how it works. And so by understanding how these things work, we're able to address them. So we appreciate you coming on. And
thank you so much for allowing me to be on this platform. Thank you for everybody. Jazakallah khair for your patience and listening in on it. Once again, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Jazakumullah khair. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless everybody. And if I said anything that was of benefit, that's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I said anything that was incorrect, that's my mistake. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to protect our children and the community.
Ameen.
Jazakallah khair, everybody.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.